Huh. I'm sorry, Melissa, that Rita's video is,
Recording in progress.
she's having trouble. Her video is on and I don't see that. That's what I thought.
She may have to engage her camera. Rita, does your laptop have a, we can't see you, I don't know if you're intending for us to. Does your laptop have a shade across the camera?
He doesn't want us to see your umbrella.
I know, right?
Yeah, but I said email, maybe easier. Yeah. It's good to see you.
Hey, Paul.
Oh, we'll get you a chair, Paul, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
He's a moderator, he's just standing up.
No, jeez. What does the audience say?
We're trying something else, so we're trying to decide what works best. So if you'd like to, you can pull up to the table if you want, or in this area there, wherever you'd like to.
Okay.
So you start it.
I start?
Yeah,
Start.
start the audience.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's hard to know with a hybrid meeting.
So this is,
I don't know if Rita.
That's the owl, that's our boss.
yeah.
It seems to catch the voices better when it's not on the table, which gives a little reverb.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's been an issue when I remotely
Yeah,
tuned in, you know, just trying
Yeah, we're trying to figure it
understand what
out.
people are saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we can sort of clean up this room so it's a better, it's a studio basically. Is that sort of what it is?
Yeah.
At least have that as an option, not that it has to be fancy, but.
I just texted Rita that we couldn't see her on camera. I don't know if she's intending for us to.
She may not.
Yeah.
I don't know, just.
That's fine.
It's
Oh, there. Nope.
She was.
Still, yeah.
Oh, let's stay in there.
Hey, Susie. Okay. Sure. Okay. We're just figuring that out. So, shall we call ourselves to order?
Michelle.
Becky, do you have an extra copy of the agenda, or should I use the one online? Thank
The
you.
only thing I did was that Grace again needs the special election vote from the select board for the, not to limit her hours
Oh,
of
to the
early
25%
voting.
for the November.
Yeah, because otherwise we have to do 50 hours instead of 10.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you. Okay. All right. So we'll go over the agenda. First we have public comment, and followed by the review of our minutes by the select board, the town moderator and town clerk discussion about the question use of clickers for voting, consideration of an appointment for land use clerk, followed by a consideration of appointment for admin secretary, select board receiving a resignation, knotweed mitigation, what's the best way for us to proceed, review of historical commission gazebo presentation and building committee regarding their proposal. The Google Calendar, I'm gonna wait until we have Rita in full.
Okay.
So we'll remove that.
And the minutes, actually, we don't have any.
Okay, so no minutes, okay, so that'll go next. And then, for us to vote for in-person, voting hours for the November election, with the town clerk's office, and then town administrator updates, and I think that's it. Oh,
I think
did I miss something?
there was a select new day for select board.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
meetings.
missed straight over that.
No, that's okay.
So let's open it for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that has public comment? I would like to share anything on screen or in person. Okay, all right. Hearing none, I'm gonna,
Wait a minute, Leslie's got a hand up there.
okay, so Rita says she can't see any of us. Rita, can you hear any of us? I see you, Leslie. I'm just checking with you real quick.
Does she need to text you there?
I don't know. Leslie, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry about the lack of light. Let me move around a little bit, but you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And did you read the statement that I sent about how foolish and toxic it would be to use glyphosate anywhere in town?
This is something you sent a while ago, right? Not just very recently, like last week or something.
Yeah, I sent it in. Let's see who this is. Hang on.
Call from a son.
Okay, just one of those phony calls. Did you read it, Eric?
Call from.
Yes, yes.
Great, great. How about you, Melissa?
Yes, I have.
Okay, yeah, so I'm just curious where you guys are on with this, because it's toxic, it has no green value, it's, yeah, Rita, good idea, I'll go outside. And I know, I guess I'm just making a comment, so I'm reiterating that I don't want it used anywhere in town because it's not healthy. And if you think you're just gonna do it on knotweed, it still goes in the air. And last I heard, Schoolhouse Road was on the list to be sprayed, but there's no knotweed on the road. It's further down in the Pelham area. And so I never heard anything back about that. So I was like, do you guys know where things are?
We have a discussion a little bit later in our agenda that we're going to talk about what the best way to proceed is. So we haven't discussed it as a select board, so we can't answer you until we've discussed it as a select board.
Okay, well, I look forward to hearing more. I know there's been lots of videos and lots of people in town with much success, either hand pulling it using pigs or goats, less expensive and definitely not toxic for anybody. So I hope you will consider what I said and that we are a green community, or at least supposed to be. And I find it quite disturbing that you're even discussing it. But I hope you'll discuss it and have your moment where you're like, how could we do this to the citizens of our town? Reduce their health. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Mary Lou?
Hi, yes, Mary Lou Kanka. I live on Wendell Road, and I too am very, very concerned how this has even become a topic of conversation. Not only will this Roundup go back into the air, it's going to seep into the ground. And the best I know, every single home in this town is reliant on groundwater. We have a well. That's part of the attraction of moving here. And you know, I I want to put my good faith into you who are making the decision that you will get, well, I don't know what you call that, a moment of something clicks and you just go forward with the decision, you know, in your heart of hearts, and you don't allow such a thing in Shutesbury. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Lou. Marion?
I don't know if you can hear me. I heard some mention in a previous meeting that there may perhaps be a second special town meeting this fall or winter. Do you know if that's happening and when?
I can't hear.
We can't hear you, Miriam.
Okay, I'm sorry. Doing the best I can. I have COVID. I've heard that there may be a second special town meeting. Do you know if that is going to be the case, and if so, when? Hearing me?
19th of November.
19?
November 19th. It's not official yet. The select board has not officially adopted it. That's the proposed date.
We can, anybody else have comment? No minutes, so we will push those to the next meeting. And next up is the moderator and town clerk discussion about improvements of town meeting, question of clickers being used for voting. So for those in the audience, there, the town was looking into, by the thought of our meeting. Discussion on improvements of town meeting and voting. Grace is here too. I see Grace on the camera.
There seems to be some sound interference from somebody.
I'm looking now. I think it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so, I'm not sure, if Grace has some things that she'd like to say,
Okay.
but my intent this evening is to talk with the select board a little bit about some of the options that I think are available to us both presently and in the future to remove some of the barriers to participation in town meetings. I think, you probably know that's been one of my strong interests, ever since I became moderator, to try to get more people involved in making the decisions in town that are made at town meetings. So I wanted to discuss four things, actually. The electronic voting or clicker study group that met for much of the past year, and some of the outcomes of that. I wanted to also talk about a couple options that we have presently to make our town meetings a little more efficient, that are in the options that the select board has available to them. And then looking ahead to the future a little bit, what might be coming down the road and how the town might need to prepare for that. So those are the four topics that I wanted to discuss. So the first one, electronic voting, I had a good group of people that did some really good work. We talked about this one other time at one of your meetings. We did that survey that came up with some surprising results as far as I was concerned. I thought that the use of town meeting clickers would be a fairly popular thing. It wasn't necessarily clear, whether there was strong support or not. So I did not feel at the end of that I was in a position to propose anything in terms of an actual purchase of a electronic voting system, but I didn't want to give up on the idea just yet either. And I think I'd like to explore, or I'd like the select board maybe to consider exploring a couple options for just getting more of a feel for just how supportive the town is to use electronic electronics in our voting. Couple options for doing this. One would be to, and both of these would be non-binding. I just really want to, kind of gauge the feelings of the town right now. One would be through a non-binding ballot question that, people could actually vote on, which is probably where we get, some of our best turnout in town. So I think that might be, we get a lot more people involved, or participating than we did in our survey. The other would be in an actual article that we would have at probably the annual town meeting. I don't think I would propose it for a special town meeting, just because, again, I want to get as much feedback as possible. So those are a couple options for kind of taking next steps, to kind of gauge the interest of the town. Becky, did you?
I see
Grace
Grace.
had a question. My question, I'll go ahead. If you want to respond to Grace first. That would be good. I'm going to take Grace's first.
Sure. Yeah, Grace is on the agenda as well. So.
Grace, did you have a question about what Paul has said at this point, or do you want to add into that? Because you're part of the discussion too, so you don't have to raise your hand necessarily.
Yes, I wanted to add to that. I've been researching non-binding policy ballot questions. And at this point, I don't understand how we would phrase clickers as a ballot question. It doesn't seem to fit with the definitions of what a non-binding policy question would be on a local ballot. So that was that. I had a conversation a couple months ago with the president of the Massachusetts Moderators Association, and one of the things that she said was very useful for herself and for other communities that she's worked with was bringing clickers in for either just one town meeting, a special or an annual, or doing sort of a mock meeting using the clickers, and that gives people an opportunity to use the tool and form an informed opinion about its use. So I think that would be a really good idea. We know we have a special town meeting coming up probably in November, probably on November 19th. I expect that we might need to have another special town meeting sometime this year. So I was thinking that it might make a lot of sense for us to reach out to one of the vendors that provides this service and ask them if, once we know when we have a date for a special town meeting, ask them if they want to come in and give people an opportunity to use the tool and decide whether or not they like it or not.
My question was pretty much on the non-binding ballot question, Paul. I was just wondering how that would work and when you would propose doing that.
Yeah, I don't think, we could think of doing it this fall, during the election. So I don't know, I haven't really thought that through fully yet. It's just, thinking of options that, we could explore, to just get more public feeling about it, so
So
yeah.
you might be open to Grace's idea of doing a test at a special
That would be
meeting?
fine, yeah. I just, I worry, my main concern is turnout. And, I don't know how many people would turn out, for a demo like that. It'd be great if we could get a couple hundred people at least. I don't know if we would. We might get, 20 or 30, in which case I don't know that really would give me the confidence in knowing, whether the town really supports, purchase of a system or not.
Can I say, excuse me, that's a quick question. You said it was not clear that there was strong support. What are we talking about here? Like 50-50, 60-40, what are the numbers, roughly?
Yeah, it was, I think maybe just maybe 60-40, in that range. support versus non-support. There was some strong sentiment, you know, that some people expressed about, you know, traditional town meeting
Right.
procedures. Let's not get away from that. And, you know, that's a strong sentiment, you know, in many parts of New England right now. But the writing is on the wall, I think, in many towns, and they know that, you know, not only are we, you know, moving into the, you know, electronic technical age, but, you know, even things like, and this was the last topic I wanted to mention, virtual town meetings, remote voting, those are on the horizon. And, you know, we need to be thinking of that possibility that's coming down the road probably. So, anyway, you know, I think the idea of the kind of romantic notion of, you know, this is the way it's always been done in New England, we got to stick with it. I don't think that argument is going to go very far. So anyway, I'm open to any options. You know, I wanted to bring it up to the select board to see, you know, how you felt, you know, even about, you know, clickers in general. I mean, if the select board's not really that much in favor of it, then, you know, we may not want to pursue it at all. So anyway, I just wanted to get some conversation going tonight, or at least get us thinking about what next steps might be.
I do enjoy the whole old-fashionedness of town meeting, but understand that we have to go forward in some way. Maybe a clicker is the little step that doesn't give away the whole old-fashionedness, like remote and will eventually disband the notion that we have all learned to love about town meeting, right? And getting together and doing the business of that day. So that's, you know, I think clickers are a good idea in some way for the voting piece, you know.
I guess I would sort of lean, not be opposed to them, but I would lean against them. Only because I just don't see like this, that, I mean, it would save time, I suppose, but I mean, how much time is it going to save? I mean, what's it going to cost? I mean, what's the cost benefit here? You know, I can't quite see that.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, maybe I could be convinced. I will say that.
Yeah, I think the real arguments for.
Let's see if Rita has any comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Rita? Yeah.
I have used clickers, not that I initiated, but I've been at workshops where they've used clickers, which were very effective in terms of immediate results. So I'm not opposed to it. I think it might speed things up, and I think the anonymity for some people would be a positive thing. I wouldn't support it for the anonymity sort of part, but for the speed and the ease and getting accurate counts much more quickly. So, you know, one thing to think about kind of with your suggestion, Paul, is whether or not you know, we could try it at special town meeting, even if it's a smaller group of people, and I think we'll get a decent turnout, is to have some sort of like mini training right before the start, and then try to use them and see how it works. So I'd be game for that, but I'd look to Grace and Paul to decide, you know, rather than some sort of mock meeting where, yeah, I don't think you'd get a lot of people to turn out.
I see Grace's hand as well.
So I was originally very ambivalent about clickers. I have since come around, and I have become really convinced that we would really benefit from them. I think we would save a lot of time, actually, because it takes a lot of time to count votes and record votes. And then sometimes we have to ask people to raise their hands up again. And those minutes add up quite significantly. So the time thing is a huge thing. And when we ask people, what do you not like about town meeting? The number one thing I hear back is it takes too long. So if we're talking about trying to encourage people to attend town meetings, making them shorter, I think would go a long way. But that's just one of the reasons. I mean, we recently, our last special town meeting in August, we had to do because we had to re-vote a vote. If we were using clickers, I would have been able to pull up a report with the full vote tally logged, and we would have been able to have documentary evidence that we had a 2/3 majority, even though we missed that bit in the moment at annual town meeting. So if we had been using clickers, we wouldn't have had to have an additional special town meeting. I think those reports are super, super useful. I have been getting a lot of requests recently for statistics about annual town meeting turnout and voter participation. And we just don't have that data. If we were using the clickers, because of the software that comes with the clickers, we would have that data to provide to people. Those are all reasons why I would really like to start using the clickers. It would save time. We'd have an exact vote count for every single vote. We'd have automatic reports that we can print out, that we can upload to the website, that people can use for their research. And I have gotten to the point where I'm like, that's worth it for me, even though this is going to mean a big money change for my elections and town meetings budget. And even though it would, mean I would have to start doing, logic and accuracy testing before town meetings, which would be a whole separate new event that would be very interesting to add to my workload. But all of that stuff is standard for towns that already use this kind of equipment. So.
I'd say two things. One is just to play devil's advocate. I mean, I use computers and electronics all the time. They don't always work. And when they don't work, it's worse than having the thing that they're replacing. I would say that. The other thing is all this talk about, I mean, I haven't heard any numbers yet. I mean, does this cost $1,000? Does this cost $20,000? I mean, what does this cost?
Probably in the 10 to 15 range.
Yeah,
maybe.
it's significant money, so
Yeah.
that's all.
Oh, yeah, not cheap.
Yeah, so anyway, that's all. I still remain saying I could be convinced, but I'm just trying to play devil's advocate as much as anything else.
Okay, so I think I'm hearing, fairly general consensus that, maybe trying to organize a little demonstration, with the vendor maybe at some point, either at a special town meeting or outside of that, might be the best next step. Grace and I could work together on trying to set that up maybe, and then, then we can go from there to see how, that may convince everybody or it may turn everyone off, who knows?
I remember the mention of being able to rent them to not necessarily own them.
Yes.
So there may be some.
But it would be best if we can get the company to do a demonstration.
Yeah, right.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I was just kind of going with Eric's thing, that's not outright necessarily
Right.
purchase. There's a, an option.
Okay, so why don't I work with Grace and we'll see if we can set something up and we'll just stay in touch on that, right? So I agree with Grace that the, one of the big complaints about people not wanting to come to town meeting or stay is because of the length of the meeting. So clickers might help with that, but a couple other things that we can do that more immediately that could help with that. One is that a lot of other towns do not actually verbalize the motions themselves. And as you know, the select board, you read all the motions and sometimes they're very long with all references to state laws and regulations and chapters and everything else. People glaze over, through all of that. So what a lot of other towns do now is print the motions in advance. I knew that'd get your attention, Becky. And then just say, I move that, we approve Article 3 as written in the warrant, or in the list of motions. I think that could be, you know, again, a substantial time saver. I mean, you might save an hour over the course of the meeting, but that's something. The other thing that a number of towns do now is they separate their town meetings. They have a spring and a fall meeting. Spring meeting deals with all the financial matters, the budget stuff, and you know, things like that. Fall is when they will discuss bylaws, you know, planning board motions and, you know, miscellaneous cleanup stuff. Like we always, you know, we have special town meetings for that all the time. We could just have a scheduled fall town meeting, a secondary town meeting. So it would shorten, it would basically divide our town meeting into, you know, into two. And also give the opportunity to, you know, to do some of the cleanup stuff, you know, that we use our special town meeting or whatever. So something to consider. Again, that's something the select board sets the you know, the meeting date and time and the place and the warrant for the meeting. So this again is all, you know, within your capable hands to make those changes, you know, if you choose to do so. And then the final thing that I already mentioned was, you know, just looking ahead, you know, it's pretty clear. I think the Mass Moderators Association in general, the people who've been around for a long time, the ones that are in tune with the legislative, you know, committees and so forth, are all feeling that, you know, virtual meetings of one form or another, remote, you know, expansion of the remote aspects of town meetings is coming down the road. So in a small town like Shutesbury, that could be a really big change because it involves, you know, a lot more electronics and, you know, security, cyber security, all of that, you know, comes into play there. And I will mention that, you know, already there are remote aspects of town meetings that are allowable. You know, some towns, if they have too many people, have to divide, you know, the group up and have, you know, some people in a different building even sometimes. So they already have, you know, the communication networks to be able to do that. That's already allowable. So I think a lot of legislators see it as just kind of, you know, the next step is to let people stay at home, you know, maybe, and tune in from there. So I think that's the way, you know, some people are thinking, and it's probably, you know, something we're going to have to grapple with probably before too much longer. But, you know, presently state law does not allow for, you know, that kind of virtual participation.
I do see Grace's hand up. And
Mine was up after.
go ahead.
I just wanted to add, in regards to the idea of splitting the annual town meeting, and maybe doing one in the fall, or, you know, splitting a financial meeting with a business meeting. I would also be very supportive of that idea. I think historically, the reason we have had town meeting and annual local election on the same day and in the same place has been the idea that it increases turnout for both events. However, I think that with vote by mail, the majority of our local election voters are voting by mail. And so that argument isn't really holding true. That would probably be the most useful thing we could do to make annual town meetings shorter and more accessible to people. If we did, you know, basically if we did the budget different from the exciting stuff is kind of the easy way to explain it. So yeah, I think that that's something that Shutesbury has, you know, not been interested in the past, but I think that with vote by mail and, you know, other changes in the opportunities people have to vote in local elections now, we should revisit this idea. So yeah, I just wanted to second that mention.
Rita, did you want to chime in at all, ask questions?
No, I agree. I think it's worth exploring. So it's something we should do over the course of the balance of this fiscal year, you know, and prepare for next year.
Becky, you had a question, you said. I'm sure there'll be opportunities with that popping back up.
Yeah.
Paul, was there anything else that you wanted us to start thinking and?
That's it, you know, I'm more than happy to continue conversation about any of these topics if and when you'd like to.
I appreciate you bringing them to us early so we could start thinking about it.
Yep.
I do appreciate it. All right, thank you, Paul and Grace. Let's move on to the consideration and appointment of a new land clerk.
Mateo, so tonight, we are entertaining the position of a new land use clerk. We have Mateo Pangalo is in the Zoom audience. He is the candidate who is coming forward. On Saturday, he met with the chairs of the 3 land use committees. ZBA was John Thompson, Planning Board was Nate Murphy, and Concom, Beth Wilson. So we had about an hour-long discussion and interview, reviewing all of the different aspects of the job, reviewing Mateo's varied and deep, extensive work history, which also includes an amount of clerical support work at different organizations that will be especially helpful, and his ever-driven curiosity and wanting to learn new things, I think will help develop out his knowledge of wetlands over time and our zoning bylaws. I was hoping we would have one of the chairs, but they are not in attendance tonight. So I will share with you that the result of the interview was a glowing recommendation to the select board from all 3 chairs of the land use boards to hire Mateo Pangalo as our town's land use clerk.
Okay, select board. Hi, Mateo. Does the select board have any questions we'd like to ask?
When can he start?
That's
That's my question.
Mateo, would you like to answer that question? You're muted.
Yeah, I can start. Certainly the daytime hours and most of the evening hours pretty much right away. Becky and I had talked about possibly having a little bit of a on-ramp period, so Carrie could show me a bit about the day-to-day operations that are already in place in the office.
And Carrie has promised 2-hour sessions with Mateo. I suggested we wait till after tonight to set them up. She was very anxious to do it when I reached her. So tomorrow or later tonight, Carrie's going to reach out to Mateo and they'll share share texts and establish a schedule that will work for both of them.
And Mateo, one of us usually asks what interests you in the position. I know we're going backwards a little bit, you've already met with the others, but can you just tell us and then those on camera what interests you in doing this for Town Shutesbury?
So in 2021, when my family bought our house and knew that we were going to be living here in Shutesbury permanently, I was eager to seek out any opportunities to get involved and contribute to the community. So serving on the Cultural Council, the CPC, the Historical Commission, and knowing that I had the flexibility in my own schedule and time, as well as that sort of deep interest in contributing to the community and helping out my neighbors however I could, when I saw that there was a need for somebody to fill this role and that it in some ways aligned with some of my work experience in providing executive assistant support, research, customer service, things like that, I thought it would be a good use of my time.
Rita, I saw you unmute your, did you want to ask me?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna add that I've had the real pleasure of working with Mateo on the Community Preservation Committee, and he is detailed oriented, thoughtful, committed, and I think he'd be a great asset. And whatever, and he always knows where to go. He's not afraid to ask questions, and I think that's a really important quality to have in somebody who's coming into a position where there's a lot of information, there's a lot to learn, and I have absolutely no hesitation that that Matteo would be great at this. So I think it's, would be a great hire for us.
Eric, do you have any?
No, I agree with everything you're saying. I'd say go.
Okay. I do see a member of the public. Does my fellow select board members mind entertaining a public comment? No? Okay. Marion?
Welcome, Matteo. I'd like to just ask, because this is something that's been encouraged for land use clerks in the past, since you are somewhat new to wetlands regulation, if you would be willing to commit to going to MACC training workshops in order to get up to speed.
One of Mateo's first questions was about professional development within the position to help learn more about the wetlands. So I think he's already has that on his agenda to accomplish.
Okay. All right, thank you, Becky. Do I hear a motion from anyone?
I'll make a motion that we approve Matteo Pangallo as the new land use clerk.
Second.
Okay. Are there any further questions or comments? No? All in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stalker, aye.
McPhee, O'Neill, aye. Thank you, Matteo.
Thank you,
And
Ted.
welcome. The next thing up on our agenda is the consideration appointment for the new admin secretary.
So we have Abby Hernandez has come forward and gone through. I have interviewed Abby, and then Rita interviewed Abby. I think she will be a wonderful addition to our staff. One thing she had not yet experienced were minutes, but her ongoing work, she does a lot of writing. She does for marketing purposes, but I've received a number of writing samples, and they are very good. So I imagine that should not be, it'll be a new thing for her, but not an obstacle. I'm afraid tonight Abby is responding to a medical emergency and cannot be here. We were just figuring things out late, and now I'm not hearing from her again, so I'm sure that's the situation. So I'm hopeful Rita can call upon her interview and speak to Abby and in this role.
Melissa, okay for me to speak?
Yeah.
So as Becky mentioned, I had a long interview with Abby last week, and I was impressed with her her knowledge. She's very tech savvy, which was kind of exciting, knowing that that's just something that at least, I'm lacking. Melissa's probably our tech person on the select board, but she had already taken a look at the town's website and had ideas. I mean, she had a lot of experience, as Becky mentioned, with marketing, with direct outreach. She has great composure. I think she'd be a good public face, as well as very detailed oriented, very well organized, kind of all of the things that I think in a position like this, where there are so many moving parts, that she has a lot of skills. She lives in town. she has great availability. So yeah, the minutes part of it, I had absolutely no hesitation whatsoever in terms of her ability to do that, to understand, how you take minutes and how you record minutes and put them together. So yeah, I think she's a wonderful candidate.
Did she happen to, she has customer service, so I imagine she has, did she say whether she had dealt with anyone who might be unhappy with the news they have received or anything like that?
Yeah, so I talked to her about that. I talked to her about just disagreements and people who have differing opinions. And I think her experience in Texas, I mean, she cited in particular her experience as I believe it was an assistant school librarian working in a library in a school in Texas where they had banned about 600 books. And I won't go into any of the details, but I felt like she had a really good, thoughtful response, just in terms of listening to people, and that that people want to be heard, and that was it was very thoughtful. We got into a little bit more of the book banning part of it, but I won't go there. So I think I think she'd be great. She has a lot to learn. I mean, I did talk to her about the necessity of having a base of knowledge about how town government works and things like open meeting law and so forth and so on. And she was very comfortable with her ability and willingness to learn what she needed to about town government.
Okay. All right.
I'm all set, no,
Okay.
good.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Abby Hernandez as the new administrative secretary for the town of Shutesbury.
Second.
Okay. Any further questions or such? All right. All in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Dr. I.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Thank you, Rita, for sitting in on that interview. Appreciate that. And you too. Next up, as a part of procedure, we have received our highway superintendent's resignation. So the select board has to officially vote and receive that resignation. Do I hear a motion to accept Steve Sullivan's resignation from the highway superintendent position?
So moved.
You're muted, Rita.
Second.
All those in favor?
Dr.
Farrell, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. All right, so on to the knotweed mitigation and how best way to proceed. So we've met with the knotweed, I forget the name of the group, and we've also had some emails and such, and a petition about the use of Roundup and such. So what do you two feel is the best way for us to go forward in process, or thoughts?
I was pretty clear that whatever we do, I mean, I certainly have my own personal doubts about whether it makes sense to use it, but that's another story.
Right.
But that we want to have a real view from the entire town's committees that would have anything to do with this.
Right.
When I mean the Board of Health, the Conservation Commission, obviously not work people. I mean, but we want to have a real. If we do use glyphosate, we want to have a real you know, whatever, we want to have a background that says that it's okay to do it, or at least that the majority of those committees I just mentioned are in favor of it. It's not a decision I feel comfortable with the select board making itself. Hey, this is what we're gonna do. That's not gonna work. People are gonna be upset about it for good reason.
Rita?
Yeah, I concur. I don't know where things stand with the proponents for this spraying, with their conversations with the Conservation Commission and with the Board of Health. But I agree with Eric, and I know that there's a lot of public concern and legitimate public concern about the spraying. So I think we need to circle back with those other committees to understand what their positions are. I mean, we're not. Yeah, we need more information.
And how do we want to engage? Do we want to engage the Knotweed task force, or do we want to invite the Board of Health and Concom and Knotweed task force together to have that conversation in a meeting?
I think we need to hear from the Conservation Commission and the Board of Health. I'm not sure. I think the knotweed spraying proponents could be a resource, as people who are against it might be a resource. But I think most immediately it really is hearing from the any deliberations that the Conservation Commission and Board of Health have had regarding spraying.
Yeah, but I think if in fact we move forward with this, we want to be, I guess, unification is what I'm talking about. We want to be unified. We don't want the Board of Health opposed to it. We're in favor of it.
Right.
You know, we should all be, because it's controversial. People should have a voice in what goes on. That's all.
So how do you want to proceed? Do you want me to talk with Concom and Board of Health and schedule them at a meeting for a conversation with the select board? Or do you want to
Maybe.
review some of the videos from their recent meetings? I know they've met with the Knotweed folks recently, both boards, Board of Health and Concom. Do you want to review those meetings first and then?
We could do that, or we could directly ask them what their thoughts are on this. You know, now that they've discussed it with the task force and maybe individually, right, as a group committee, maybe we just ask them the question on what they feel like and present their ideas to the select board, either in writing, or they could come to a meeting, I suppose. You know, ask them directly what their committees have thought. And right, does that sound like you just ask them directly rather than trying to piece it together?
Yeah, I would have them come to a meeting.
Okay.
Would or wouldn't? I'm sorry.
Would.
Would you suggest the next meeting, the 8th of October, if they're available, or?
We want to make sure they've had time to discuss it within their, you know, right? So,
Okay, so I'll feel it out when it would be appropriate.
Yeah.
I do see Miriam's hand. Miriam? Miriam, did you have a question or comment? No, her microphone's on. Miriam, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. Oh, there you are. We can't hear you.
Give her a click.
You hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, I can't breathe very well and can't talk very well. I appreciate the desire to have this discussion with the other boards. I think it's a great idea. Um, including doing non-collision sounds great. Would hope that perhaps you would give us an opportunity to discuss from the perspective of the people who signed the petition. We have, I believe, over 120 signatures from people living in Shutesbury. That's a large group. A small percentage of voters, but it is a large group to speak up about the issue. I don't think there is a pro knotweed lobby in Shutesbury or a pro invasive species lobby. I don't think anybody is advocating for doing nothing. So it would be great to find a path forward that unites people and can capitalize on everybody's energy and commitment. And encourage select board rather than just looking to other boards for guidance to remember that there are some procedural issues that really fall within the select board's authority to come up with, including, what are going to be the regulations and standards for employees using this material if you're going to have spraying? What PPE are you going to be requiring or training for your employees to protect their health? What notification will you provide to abutters? Labeling or signage where they'll be to protect people going along the roadsides so that their dogs or children don't stumble into areas that have been treated and get exposed to glyphosate. There's a lot of issues that really are about the select board's authority, not these other boards. And I would just encourage you to be thoughtful about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Jill.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say I work with the Smart Solar Shutesbury mailing list, and we have a lot of people on the list, and I know that there would be a strong turnout for people if it was being considered to do a sort of non toxic or pesticide oriented approach, like a hand pulling. We could rally people to volunteer for that. So, if there's some way that we can help with that effort to so that would be considered as an option or more seriously considered, we'd really like to contribute our efforts on that front to avoid using Roundup or glyphosate.
Thank you, Jill. Okay. All right. So our next step there will be Becky will reach out to them and invite them to a meeting once they've discussed in their okay.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the review of the Historical Commission gazebo presentation and the letter we received from the building committee regarding that proposal. For those who may not have been there or remember, we had the Historical Commission came to us and had shown us their proposal for the guide board post on the common and a pergola. What were we calling it?
Pergola.
Gazebo.
A gazebo pergola structure to go over that and to protect the guide board from weather of various types, to protect its restoration. And we received it was given to the building committee to talk it over, and they had given us a letter in response to that proposal.
And I think Frank McGinn from the building committee is here.
Frank is here. Is there anyone else who just?
And Henry Geddes from Historical Commission is here.
All right. Frank, do you want to summarize what the building committee had proposed?
Let me see.
Yeah, keeps the
Hey, um, general summarization of the buildings committee was it didn't fit size and everything else. It just didn't work for us. As presented. If it was presented differently, we might look at it differently. As it was presented, it was too short or, other concerns, and we didn't get enough information. They only presented the gazebo. There are other ways to protect this signboard, so wanted more proposals, I guess, or, you think out of the box and other things, but the gazebo didn't work for the buildings committee.
Okay. Becky?
I was also attending the building committee meetings, and just to add to what Craig said, I think the concern was that they felt that the gazebo roof, originally proposed with no sides was awkward architecturally. The size of it was very heavy at the top, and it took away from the guide board itself. And it was very close to the top because they were trying to protect it more. But visually, I know building committee had concerns. And the other issue was the second thing that they presented to the select board, and Henry's here, he can describe it, but it had plexiglass sides on all four sides to further protect it, which was a variation of a concept that the building committee had brought up. What the building committee had brought up was the potential for enclosing it in glass, just glass, so that there's an example up in Montreal that Jeff Quackenbush had just seen. And so they were just suggesting that they didn't think the solution that's on the table is working. Look for more solution, keep working on finding one that you're happy with. Because the second proposal they came back with was with the plexiglass on the sides of the building. There was a lot of concern about the wind in the wintertime and the storms, and how the plexiglass might become problematic and might be something that needs to be engineered because of the wind loads and the things that would change, potentially damage the structure. I mean, it would be awful if the whole thing came down. So, on top of the guide board. So, those were the observations I heard at the building committee. And I'm happy to see we have Bert Fernandez here now, along with Henry Geddes, two members of the Historic Commission.
Rita, I see.
Yeah, I just have to sign off. I'm sorry. Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Henry and Bert, did you want to weigh in on what the conversation is at this point?
Well, again, I appreciate our colleagues on the Buildings Committee's concerns. We on the Historical Commission feel that we've done our homework. We've pretty much exhausted every possibility. But however, that said, I'm always open to, a solution that may be out there. The point being that our main concern as a historical commission is the preservation of the object, given that we spent a fair amount on renovating it. The recommendations that we offered were certainly, some of them were actually generated by professionals in the conservation field. This is again the option really of putting it in glass is very problematic. The folks at the Williamstown Arts Conservation Center pointed out that this would create all kinds of moisture. This is not a good idea. Whether or not the plexiglass will hold is a matter of trying it out. We did have a professional architect design this gazebo and at least look into the various angles and potential for visibility. I suppose he could be wrong, but if y'all want to hire another architect to figure out what to do about it, I'm all ears. We are all ears. At this point, everything has been volunteer. But I don't think that this architect who did the work for us is going to be available to do that. Again, as I said, given that the artifact will be returned in about 6-7 months, we do have some time to mull this over, push it down the road, and maybe there is a solution out there. I'm wondering if Frank McGinn has anything that he might propose beyond what was generally stated at that meeting. When I say generally, I mean it was fairly general, and there were no specific proposals, that would in any way advance this project. I'm a little. I wonder what the concern is here. I mean, we're looking at aesthetics, what it looks like, before we've even seen the potential for what the professionals here have done to create something that would be visible. And again, this is it a question of maintenance? This is going to cost a lot of money to maintain. This was all very unclear. So in conclusion, our main concern is preservation of the object. And short of having some kind of structure over it. And again, I'm all ears about any other potential solution here. If it advances that, great. We've looked into the Massachusetts Historical Commission actually prohibits creating a replica of this object, or in any case, strongly discourages that. I mean, that seemed to be a solution, but we can't do that apparently. I mean, if we do, we'll have to deal with the Massachusetts Historical Commission, which is aware of what's going on the common, right? We have certain structures there that are on the list of the Massachusetts Historical Commission. That said, we can, as a commission, we'd be willing to pursue the possibility of actually creating a replica up there. There is some wiggle room here where a replica might be possible, despite the opposition from the Historical Commission of Massachusetts.
Do you have any questions, Eric?
My question still is, and I could be completely wrong on this too. I guess I'm just sticking with it tonight. But what if he did nothing? I mean, the thing was, how old is the thing? It was sitting there for all those years, and obviously, I know we just spent a lot of money fixing it. But if you divide that by the number of years the thing was out there, when they built it, they certainly didn't design it so it had a roof on it. I mean, a gazebo over it. What if you just did nothing? And then figured in 30 years you got to rebuild it again or whatever it is. Am I crazy to think that?
No.
Okay.
No. There's so many things that are out there historically that are in the weather, and 300 years later they're still there. So no, I don't think they're crazy to think that. I don't know that we have a solution tonight.
No,
so,
and I think the purpose of the letter from the building committee was just to say that what they've seen so far, they would not recommend. And that they're very hopeful that the historical commission will continue looking for a good solution.
Yeah. Henry?
Yeah, I guess we're not getting through. The object was deemed valuable enough to renovate thoroughly by professionals. It is on the list of artifacts with the Massachusetts Historical Commission. We tried to do our due diligence by following the guidelines of the Secretary of State of Massachusetts, the Massachusetts Historical Commission, to renovate it. If that's too difficult to understand, well, as a commission, hey, let's put it back out there and see how it works,
My point was simply that it worked before for 120 years or whatever it was. Why are we changing anything now? What's different now?
Yeah, the point is that it had deteriorated quite considerably. I guess you hadn't had a chance to look at it
Oh,
before.
I know that. I know it has, but so it'll deteriorate again in 100 years, and you fix it again in 100 years or whatever. That's all.
Well, the funds that went toward it were targeted funds through the Community Preservation Act. It was legitimately funded in that way. We're just trying to do our job as the historical commission. It's different from having, let's say, any other historical artifact and trying to preserve it.
Okay.
I do see question, Mary Lou?
Hi, Mary Lou Conca, a former historical commissioner. And I think, well, in the very beginning, there was consideration of a gentleman in town, Mr. Groves, who preserved it before he put it back into a readable, painted it. He's a very well-known carpenter, and I wonder if that can be something considered again. Because it certainly is worth preserving. But what I think's happening here is it's just costing us too much. So thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, Mary Lou. Okay, so we're at a point where we have to do a little more research for maybe something that's a little different. We have some time. You said 6 to 7 months, right, Henry, before it comes back?
That's correct. If I might respond to the last statement quickly.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. Bob Groves did submit a proposal, but all he submitted was a total cost. We asked him to submit a detailed outline of what would be done, the materials and everything else, and he never did.
Okay. Thank you, Henry.
We never heard back from him.
I have a correct point of correction, please. Can I?
Okay, Miriam, go ahead, and then we're gonna move on.
Did make a quote, but by then we had already moved forward with the Williamstown Art Conservation Center. And so it was really, we were trying for 2 years, sort of trying to get a quote from him. He did submit something, but, it wasn't the way we could have considered it. So.
Okay, thank you, Mary. I guess more to think about this particular topic. More thinking caps, creative ideas. All right, thank you, Henry and Bert and Frank, for coming. We appreciate it. Next is the select board, a new date for certain meetings that fall on Election Day, Christmas, and New Year's. How interesting that we fall on all three. So when would we like to, look at my calendar, when would we like to meet on those days? What days would we like to pick instead? Although Rita's not here, so we'll make them tentative, and Becky, can you ask her feedback? Oh,
Sure.
all right, so November 5th, do we want to do the 6th?
6 is good with me.
6th. So December 25th, well, luckily that is on a Wednesday, but Christmas Eve is on that Tuesday. Do we want to maybe skip a week in our meeting schedule? Or a week ahead, maybe do it a week ahead? But that's putting 2 meetings back to back.
The FinCom is on the schedule right now.
It's on schedule.
For which?
Well, it's
On the
like
24th.
if it's not the 25th, it must be the.
24th.
No, I mean,
No, it's the
7 days.
31st. I think you guys are on the 31st.
31st.
So you moved yours, I think,
Right, yeah, so 30, we're on 31st.
to a different day in that week. I think it's the 2nd. But the
Well,
problem,
actually, 25 and 7 would be 32. We'll be on the 32nd. I'll take care of it.
Hold on, I
don't have their schedule with me, we just
alternate
alternate the way we would normally.
right, but you didn't go into Christmas week, I know that.
Ours is on the 31st. So ours isn't the week of Christmas, we have one on the 31st.
We have New Year's.
We have a New Year's Eve meeting.
New Year's Eve meeting, can make a New Year's Eve party.
So the question is, I think the only options that week are the 30th, the
So
Monday,
the
or the
3rd.
2nd.
Well, or the 2nd.
The 2nd, yeah. 2nd. Maybe the 2nd? That's gonna be a popular meeting, since it's the only one in the week.
I'd say the 2nd's good for me. We could change all this later too,
We
right?
could, right, yeah.
But thank you, so, you know.
I want to say in some years, I believe if we didn't need a meeting, we did cancel
Yes.
that one at the
Yes.
end.
Yeah.
We, you know, unless there's something urgent that had to be.
When's the last meeting in December before that?
The
7th?
17th.
17th. Oh, yeah, then
If we met on the 30th.
That sounded like there was more after that. Or is it just a thought?
It's just a thought, but meeting on the 30th kind of would cut it. So then our next
Cut it in
meeting,
half would be, next meeting would be
the
the 14th.
14th. Because that's gonna be a really slow week, actually.
What, the 31st week?
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
or you could skip it. It's a long time. All right, so you wanna go with the 2nd, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, we can always
We
make
can
it a
change
short
it
meeting
or
too.
eliminate
Like, we
it
don't
or-
have to make it a long meeting, we can make it, you know, if there's anything urgent, we have to do, right?
Because people will probably be away on the 30th.
Yeah, right.
Somebody, sure. Most likely they'll be.
We'll just make them both plus they're Wednesday, they're a little easy, so somehow easy to remember the fact Tuesday, it's Wednesday.
It was Thursday, because New Year's Day.
Except it's Thursday, you're right, good point.
Yeah, New Year's
Good
Day.
thinking, Eric, you're right.
You know what, New Year's Eve party or a New Year's Day, you know, celebration.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, have them tentatively, you know. for
Yeah, we
now.
can always change.
I mean, November 6th is pretty good. I think that can be solid.
Yeah, yeah.
Next year, the holidays won't land on Tuesdays. It'll be another year before we, during a couple of years before we deal with them affecting again, so. All right, so just let Rita know, and if she had conflicts with either of those.
Okay.
Okay. And then we have the select board vote for in-person early voting to meet a minimum of the 25% of town clerk's hours for November. Grace, you've hung out with us. Thank you.
Yeah, so the only update I have about this, because we did this exact same vote a month ago about, is I did finally get an answer from the secretary's office. We can't vote once to set my mandatory minimum in-person early voting hours at 25% of my usual business hours, but for all elections in 1 year. But what we can do next year, at the start of the year, because next year we only have our local election, what we can do is we can vote at the beginning of the year to set the mandatory minimum for, I'm not making any sense.
Oh, you are. Keep going.
Keep going.
You're almost there.
Sorry. I'm trying to be very specific, and it's too long a sentence at this point. So we can't do one vote per year, but we can vote in one meeting for as many elections as we know are coming up.
So you make multiple motions.
Right. So I'm proposing that going forward after this year, because this is the last election we have scheduled for this year, but in the future, when we know we have multiple elections, we'll have one meeting where we do this vote for multiple elections.
That makes sense. You are making sense.
Yeah.
You are making sense. That makes sense.
Okay. That made sense. My first attempt did not make sense.
So I guess, do I hear a motion to set the in-person early voting minimum hours for the town clerk for the November 5th election?
Yep.
To 25% of the town clerk's usual business hours.
So moved.
I'll second that. Does that made sense, right? For you, Grace? Okay. All right, all in favor?
Stockbroker.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And our last topic of the evening, town administrator updates.
Okay, so I don't know if you all felt like spreading your wings tonight when you came in, especially in that area. There are 8 boxes of face shields now gone.
Uh-oh.
They are out of our building. Do you recall that Board of Health delivery of 10 1,000 face shields?
Can I ask where they went?
Don't ask, don't tell.
1,000 people showed up and each took one.
Yeah, nice.
No, that didn't happen. I piggybacked on the library's pickup to CMRK. They had arts and crafts swap here on Saturday. They had about 20 small boxes of stuff left over that CMRK was going to pick up, and I got Marianne to add my collection. And the kitchen, I guess they had moved from here into the kitchen, but they've been taking up room for a bit. But now they won't just go into the trash, they'll get a new home and hopefully useful to somebody. The other thing I can mention is Stephen Dalmas came from the building committee, and I've been telling him we are having trouble getting out the front door. If anybody has experienced that, it's been stiff. He actually, Devin, our sergeant, Devin Pelletier, had done a really good job moving the plate on the door to make it so easier to get in and out. And then Stephen went in and he found the area where he's used a knife to clean a piece of the plate, and now it works much, much better. So that's all.
I hadn't noticed, but.
No,
That's all very
I
good.
noticed it.
Yeah, it's been, especially for some elderly people like me, it's been hard.
Right.
But, and the last thing is we got, I don't know if you all had seen it, Michael DeCara forwarded an email that he and Beth Wilson both received an inquiry from Bruce Stedman. It turns out Michael knows Bruce Stedman. Bruce is on the Amherst Conservation Commission, and he is working with an Amherst group called the Fort River Watershed Enhancement Group, and they got an $8,000 grant, and they are eager to meet with some individuals from neighboring towns, Belchertown, Shutesbury, Leverett, I think, I have to get, Amherst, Pelham, Hadley, and Shutesbury. Amherst, Pelham, Hadley, and Shutesbury. So they want to do some brainstorming with this group of people that might have some knowledge about their town and about the watershed. That's why they asked Beth. She's already works in Amherst, but she knew about the watershed. But they were asking Michael, as a member of the ECAC, the Energy Climate Action Committee, and he was feeling a little on the fence about it. But he says he doesn't think they're going to commit to doing any. No, they're not going to be committing the town to anything, but he wanted the select board to be aware. He didn't want to participate without the select board's blessings, that would, you know, he didn't want to be in a position where people thought he was representing the town without support. It's a one-day workshop scheduled at this point that he'll be attending, and Beth will be attending. And then they'll share the ideas that come out of that meeting. And he asked me to present this to you because he couldn't be here tonight.
Does he want to vote or something where we say?
Yeah, or just an acknowledgement, or that it's okay with you,
Yeah.
you all, that they participate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's okay to me.
I think it's fine for them to participate.
Okay,
You know,
good.
we're not committing to anything, and, you know, there's all that process if there's something that comes out of it we want to do, so I don't think there's harm.
Yeah, great. So, I'll let him know, and
Okay.
he can bring back information when they learn something. And that is all I have for tonight.
Where's the Four Towns meeting on Saturday?
Saturday.
Just a reminder. Just a reminder.
Yes, I had forgotten until Becky reminded us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, an early reminder was worthy this week, because that's.
I went back to think, did I see this prior? And I found an email on the 9th, so, you know.
Yeah, Saturday.
In person.
In person at 9 a.m. And I think that's, and I posted for Finance Committee, Select Board, and School Committee, because we're not clear on what's going to happen.
Right.
And if there's an opportunity to talk between the boards, we want to make sure we do that.
Yeah, that's good. Good call. Okay. So we will see everybody there. All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. All in favor?
Start to ride.
Thank you, Sonia. Aye. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank